Fire Dog. What's going on, buddy? How are you, man? Hey, man. KJ, what's going on? So seeing as you're the first one here, you're going to have to tell me. Number one, can you hear the music? Number two, is it too loud or too soft? Because I can't hear it. What do you think? Does it add something? Take away? Too little? Too much? I don't know. It's very background. That's a very diplomatic way of saying something. No, seriously though, is it too loud or too soft? Here, hold on. Let's go just a touch louder. Can barely hear it. Okay. Tell you Rick Knight, how's it going? Thanks for joining. I turned the volume up. Tell me what you think. Welcome everyone. Feel free to sound off and chat. Still soft. Okay. Louder. I got my volume down on Spotify too. Crank that up just a touch. There you go. All right, cool. Thank you. We are gonna be getting started in just a minute. Figured I'd let others join on, and then we'll pick it up with our Ansible stuff. How's everyone doing tonight? Or today? Middle of the night. I don't know if there are any Norwegians on. If there are, it's like 3 a.m. for you guys. It's crazy. Sadly still unemployed. Well, that's no good, man. I'm sorry to hear that. Hope something turns up soon. What kind of work are you looking for? InfoSec work? Raybar, how's it going? Welcome back. Tonight's drink of choice is water with a pinch of salt. Water's a secret weapon. Basic IT help desk stuff. Yeah, I hear ya. Not sure if you checked out my recent blog post. Actually mentioned stuff like that. If you haven't done like a blog or you don't contribute to GitHub or things like that, you should consider it. Cool. All right, we are gonna get started, and we're gonna pick up with where we left off last week. Last week we were building out an Arch VM, a virtual machine. So I actually have that. That is running. Let's see if I get my hotkeys right. Yep. that's running right over here. So just a standard virtual machine that we built out last week. It's just running vanilla Arch Linux, nothing fancy. I'm not running any particular distro of Arch. If you want like a very nice, friendly, turn down the music. Hang on. There we go. Turn down just a touch. Let me know if that's better. Music is overpowering. Man, that is a fine line. It's hard for me because I can't hear it. I need to do more testing on the stream to figure that out. So, anyways, if that's better, let me know. If it's still too loud, let me know. I'll monkey with it. But we built out an Arch virtual machine, and like I said, just standard run-of-the-mill Arch VM. If you are looking for a very user-friendly way to get into Arch, I know I've talked about it a lot. I would definitely recommend Manjaro. Manjaro is a really nice user-friendly distro that is just straightforward and easy to use and just really cool. I've used it before. I like it. I ended up building my own because not just because I wanted the experience of messing with it and figuring out for myself. But in this case, we're building out a virtual machine, and we're using Ansible to deploy packages and do basic configuration, because the truth is that building out a virtual machine is fun and all, but once we have it built, we don't want to do anything else with it, right? We just want it to work, and that's pretty much it. I'm the kind of person where I like pressing a button and stuff. My stuff just happens. My scripts are running in the background, right? So I automate as much as I can, and I like that, and that works for me. I just pieced it together. I have a chroma key. I'm looking. I saw my image in OBS, and I'm like all faded out, and I have a chroma key set to a green screen, and I'm wearing a green T-shirt, and that's what's screwing everything up. Lesson learned: don't wear a green T-shirt if you have a green background. Anyways, yeah, because like I said, I'm pretty straightforward. Where I want to run stuff. I am a huge fan of automating my own work and solving my problems with code, because that's just what I like, and it makes for a more efficient me, I guess. And so in this case, we're using Ansible to make configuration changes to our Arch VM, because like I said, you can build a virtual machine, and then you can install packages every time. Like if you just want to build from the ground up, go right ahead, you can do that. However, that's one way of doing it, but I would argue that Ansible is a more efficient way of getting that done. So that's what we're doing, and we left off yesterday with an Ansible playbook that we had built, and that is archbuild.yml. That's right. Alias vim equals, can I just do nvim? Can I do that? Vim archbuild. Oh, well, that's interesting. I have a swap file going. Do I have this running in a screen? Do I have screen running? I don't have screen running. So I have a, let's open read only. Let's edit it anyway. You know what? Yeah. I'm gonna cover it. Okay. Save. Okay. All right. So in our basic, I'll move this down a little bit so you guys can see more of it. Okay. In our basic archbuild.yml file, I'm just going to do a quick recap from what we did last week. All that we have installed so far from the command line, and when I say the command line, I'm talking Arch's package manager, which is Pacman. That's just the Ubuntu. If you're in Ubuntu or you're in a Debian-based distro, that is apt, and Arch is just Pacman. All that we've installed so far with Pacman is we've installed NeoVim, we've installed Ansible, and we've installed OpenSSH. Those three things, that's all I've installed so far. However, all of these packages are already there. ZSH is installed, Tmux is installed, Nmap is installed, and the reason why all that stuff is installed is because we used the Pacman module in our in our Ansible playbook. And if you are not familiar with all the various Ansible modules, I would encourage you to just have a look at all. Man, I had a very nice bookmark here. Here we go, Ansible modules. Okay, there are loads and loads and loads and loads of various Ansible modules that do just about anything that you can think of. In this case, the Pacman Ansible module basically just manages your packages using Pacman. So it is built for Arch Linux and its variants. And if you are not familiar with Ansible, if this is your first time, looking into Ansible, get to know the Ansible documentation, which is docs.ansible.com, because it is definitely among the better documentation repos that I think I've ever encountered, seconded only by the Arch Wiki, which has steps for doing everything in Arch Linux. However, in this case, it gives you examples of all the parameters, and then it tells you what the syntax in Ansible looks like. So in this case, if we want to install something, we would simply install package foo, pacman, and then the name, and then we set the state parameter. And that state parameter you can install with present, you can uninstall with absent. Latest, I think, is like bleeding edge stuff. I could be mistaken there. I don't normally use latest, but present, from what I understand, is simply just going to pull down the latest. Update cache. This is essentially basically just doing an apt update or a pacman-sy in order to update the existing cache. It is something that I normally do when firing off an Ansible module for installing things, and you can see that. You can see that right here for update cache set to true. Summarize Ansible for newbies. Skyworm, welcome to the stream. Yep. So Ansible is an automation framework for automated configuration management of an endpoint. And what that means is that in this case, we're building out a virtual machine, and I can install packages normally on the command line. I can SSH over to the virtual machine. I can install this. I can install that. I can modify all my config files. However, I can also do that with Ansible. And Ansible is an agentless configuration management tool. And what it allows you to do is make changes on a target remote system that involves things like copying files, changing files, templates, installing packages, all kinds of stuff, and essentially configuring the host the way that you want it. And the nice thing about that is you create playbooks in YAML syntax, and then you use the Ansible playbook command to fire off that playbook, and it goes off and performs the steps in order. And there are various syntactical things that you can do to tweak the playbook, tweak what the endpoint state looks like. And the nice thing is that once you're done, you save all that into a nice, pretty YAML file, and you can commit that up to Git so others can pull it down. They can configure hosts that way. You can configure multiple hosts that way, and all behind the scenes, it is agentless, which is really, really cool. You don't need an Ansible agent running on the target. All you need running on the target is Python. That's all that you need, because all Ansible is behind the scenes is Python commands being run on the target over SSH. That's it. That's all it's running. Like playing a snapshot, or like more, not really like an automated config, sort of like that, except that what you're doing is you're doing automation or automated configuration management. So for example, right now, let's see here. I use, like I said, in this case, I'm running Ansible on the local host. However, if let's say that I wanted to manage my Amazon EC2 instances, I would run an Ansible playbook from what's called a controller machine, which is normally going to be like your desktop or your laptop. You would run the Ansible playbook from there, and you would target that against your various hosts running in AWS. And we can build out Ansible playbooks that target AWS. You can build Ansible playbooks that target Azure, DigitalOcean, all kinds of various VPS providers. But in this case, we're all just doing it locally because this is just a very simple demonstration for how to run Ansible and how to configure, just local configuration management. So, but it is intended to do configuration management against remote hosts. So, for example, I frequently build out Apache hosts in the cloud. I do this for red teaming, for redirectors, and for things like that. And what I do is I use Ansible to control the configuration files that get deployed to the Apache system. And the reason why I do that is because that way I don't make an operational mistake. So, like, let's say accidentally leaving Apache running with indexing enabled, so you can just browse out and see all the files on the server. So by automating the deployment of configuration files, what's cool about that is that once you have a configuration locked in and you know it's what you like and what you want, use Ansible to deploy it and get it squared away. Your playbooks are all tested, and then you're good to go for that playbook for the foreseeable future. So this is one of those playbooks that I generally keep updated for my virtual machines, and that's essentially what we're building out right now. So hopefully that answers your question. Very good question. What is Ansible and how does it work? So these are just various modules. You give your, and this is what I was talking about before. So in this case, we're running against the local host. We are setting become to true. This means that I'm essentially sudoing to do the next tasks. Gather facts, again, Ansible facts are things like the local IP address, how much memory is installed in the system, what the CPU is, what the host name is, etc. Because I'm running on the local host, I don't necessarily care about those things. However, if you're targeting a remote host, gathering facts is a good thing because then you can interrogate those facts and make decisions based on those facts. Okay, and then I'm setting custom variables. So these variables right here are arbitrarily named. I have a variable called .files, homedir, and home user, and those are for just the variables on my target system. Okay, now in this case, on the system that I'm working on, I have my .files repo, or I did have my .files repo. I don't have my .files repo, and I'm logged in as myself. Yeah. You know what? I think I copied those. I bet you I copied those to root. Yeah. And notice I don't have a ZSH config set up, so let's see if I just sudo to root .files. Okay, so there are my .files. I'm going to copy those .files to home JSON, and then I'm going to set the ownership permission. Actually, let's specify -r home JSON .files. Okay, so there's my .files directory, and should all be set to the correct ownership permission. Yep. And okay, cool. All right. Oops. Okay, so now I have access to all the various .files, and by the way, all my .files are published on my Twitch page, so that's exactly what I'm working with here. No changes as far as I know. So now that we have that set up, we ran the Pacman module, which installed packages for us. Okay, the packages are all acquired from the Arch package manager using, like I said, Pacman. We set the state to present to make sure they get installed, and then we update the cache to make sure that we're grabbing the latest. Okay, now we're specifying Ansible tags. Ansible tags are very, very useful, and the reason why they're useful is because we can run only tagged versions of the playbook. So for example, if I just wanted to run the Pacman tag and all the tasks associated with the Pacman tag, I would do something like Ansible playbook arch build, oops, in my .files directory. Okay, Ansible playbook arch build tags Pacman, and then it's only going to run the tasks associated with that tag. Okay, very cool, very useful, and the reason why that's useful especially is because, let's say, right now our playbook is pretty small, but let's say that our environment or our playbook gets to be, in this case we're about 70 lines or so. Let's say that our playbook gets to be hundreds and hundreds of lines, or thousands of lines. You got a monster playbook. Well, if you're running a playbook and that playbook bombs out 15 minutes in, do you want to run everything again? Chances are you probably don't. All you really want to do is you just want to run where it failed, and you want to pick up where you left off. And that makes perfect sense. Tags is a great way to do that, so is Ansible steps. So, and as I mentioned last week, you can run Ansible playbook, arch build, and then step, and it will prompt you for every single step. So let's say that we got all the way to install AUR packages from the Arch user repository. Let's say we got all the way here and then it failed for some reason. We can use steps to get all the way to that, well, I skipped over it, to get all the way to that point and then continue from that point. Okay, so very, very nice. Is this a default config file? No, this is a config file that we built. So YAML files are, in this case, Ansible playbooks are files that you make. So what we're doing and what we're doing on the stream is we are building out the VM, the virtual machine, the way that we want it to be using Ansible, instead of just doing things like pacman-s install some stuff. Okay, we're not doing that. We're using Ansible to do all of the installation. And like I said, once that's done, once the playbook is squared away the way you want the playbook to be squared away, the playbook is built, right? You can put that into a Git repo, you can save that locally, you can build any number of VMs and essentially clone the machine. Now, of course, you can also clone it with a snapshot, but let's say that I wanted to build out the exact same thing out in the cloud. You would just run the playbook against a cloud-based host. So, okay, so we've installed some AUR packages. Now, the problem with our VM is that right now our VM is super plain. None of the dot files are have been configured. They've been configured, but they haven't been distributed. Okay, so for example, the tmux dot file is .tmux.conf and it lives in your home directory. The neovim dot file lives in .config /nvim. However, some of those directories don't necessarily exist, and Ansible is not going to assume, hey, let's create the directory. If your path is wrong, you need to create the directory. At least as far as I know, Ansible is continually updating their versions with all kinds of new stuff. So if I'm a bit dated in certain modules, that's because I'm a bit dated and I don't read the Ansible docs for light bathroom reading. But anyways, let's actually distribute some of our dot files here. Before we do that, we need to make some directories. Okay, so we are going to, let's make directories. Okay, so we're gonna create a new task. All right, and then we are going to use the file module to do this. All right, the file module is, let's see if I can pull that up real quick. Ansible built-in file. Okay. The file module does all kinds of amazing things. You can copy files, you can change files, you can set the owner, you can set permissions, you can do all kinds of neat things with files, and you set the owner, set the group, all kinds of stuff. So in this case, what I want to do, and this is actually something that I have not done before, is ultimately I simply want to create symlinks to my dot files. Instead of copying the dot file, which I can do, I would rather do symlinks to the dot files because it's easier management, because that way my dot files just live in my dot files repo. I make changes to all the files in one repo, and because they're symlinked, I'm good to go. I don't have to navigate to every single directory every time. Everything is just managed in one place. Okay, now in the Ansible playbook that I'm working off of, like I'll kind of, I'll back up a little bit and give you a total cheat here. So I'm working off this playbook right here, which is essentially what we're building out, but I'm just copying a bunch of stuff. I'm not creating symlinks, and so that's what I want to do. Is ultimately I want symlinks, and so I'm going to update my own playbook for Arch to use symlinks instead. All right, so first we have to create directories. So let's create a directory using file, and we're going to create, we're going to set the path, and here's where we're going to get into some fun variables. I'm going to use item path, and I'll explain this in a second. State, we want the state to be a directory. This is how we tell Ansible that we're making directories. The owner for the directory is going to be the home user that I have specified, which in this case is Jason. And then the group is also going to be set to Jason. Oops, user. Now I could just set Jason here, but why do that when I have a variable up at the top that has everything squared away? This way, if somebody else wanted to run the exact same playbook, all they would have to do, oops, let's set a mark. All they would have to do is change this to their path, their user, and then run it, and then away they go. Okay, so set the owner, and then I'm going to set the permissions to 0755. Anyone can read them, and Jason can read and execute. Okay, real quick, this notation, the double mustache notation, is Jinja notation for Ansible variables. And what that means is that this is how I reference a variable in Ansible. So like I said up top, I have a variable called home user. Well, how do I reference that variable in the playbook? You use the double mustache here, or the double curly brace here. Okay, and I mentioned this last week, but I'm gonna mention it again this week because it is worth repeating. There is a serious gotcha when it comes to YAML syntax, and that gotcha has to do with how Ansible treats strings. So for example, up here on this line, everything after command is a string to Ansible. The whole thing is just one big string. And Ansible, what Ansible will do is it will it will read the string up to the point where it finds a double curly brace and then insert your variable. Unless the variable is at the beginning of the string. If the variable is at the beginning of the string, let's say that it was something like command item, and then let's say that this was my command. Okay, this would not work, and the reason why it wouldn't work is because I'm beginning the string with a variable. When you begin a string in Ansible, because everything in a playbook is a string, when you begin a string with a variable, you have to use double quotations in order to do that. Okay, that is important. Double mustache. You bet. There you go. I could say curly braces and just kind of be like uber nerd, but the truth is that the double mustache, there's something about it that I kind of like saying. I don't know. I picture some dude with like two of them stacked on top of each other, and then he's got like, over here he's got two chins on the bottom. It's just a big guy. I don't know. Anyways, so again, if you are kicking off a string with a variable, you gotta use the double curly brace to begin with. Okay, all right. So, but here's the thing. What's going on here with item? Oh man, I can never remember this. Set HL search. Set HL. Is that it? Set no HL. There we go. Okay. By the way, I am operating in Vim, or NeoVim, I should say. So if you are, what I don't have is I don't have my keystroke overlay happening on the screen because I don't want it to be too distracting from what we're actually working on, which is Ansible. But if you have Vim questions, I love talking about Vim, and I can talk about, whack. Yeah, I can talk about Vim a lot. So if you are interested in Vim and you want to know how to do certain things in Vim, let me know. And if I don't know, then we'll figure it out. Okay. So what is going on with this right here? Item. So I haven't specified any variable called item yet, but I'm going to. And I'm going to use the Ansible. I'm essentially going to build a list. So if you're used to writing code, think an array, okay? And I'm going to use with items. And you can there is new syntax for this, like I believe it's loop. You can use loop and essentially do the same thing. I'm using a little bit of old syntax just because that's what I'm comfortable with. But in this case, building an array in YAML syntax essentially means you kick things off with a hyphen. And when you do that, you have multiple items. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create path, home, dir. I'm going to create a config directory. Okay, so if I were just creating one directory, well, I would just take this path and I would just put it up here. Okay, so if that lost you just a little bit, item is a special keyword in Ansible, and it refers to the current item in a collection. And so I'm building a collection using with items, and then I'm giving it an arbitrary name, an arbitrary assignment, which is called path. And so that is how I refer to the current variable in the loop, which is item path. Okay, so I want to create a bunch of these. All right, so I'm going to create 2, 4, 6, 8. Let's just create 9. So let's do this. I'm going to copy this line and then make 9 of them. Okay, I'm going to find the quotation, the double quotation, and then polybar, and then nvim, and then alacrity. Alacrity is a terminal that I use. Rofi. Rofi is it's the application launcher that I use. It's very similar to, what's it called in Mac OS? I can't remember when you hit command space. What is that called? When it just launches, pop-up launcher. Dunst for messages. i3. i3 is simply my my tiling window manager. PyCom, which is my compositor. PyCom is Spotlight. Thank you very much. PyCom is responsible for, at least in this case, let me show you that. So in this case, PyCom, at least certain versions of PyCom, you can see my desktop back here, but you see how it's blurred in the back. The compositor allows me to do that. I can set blur effects on my desktop and on my various windows and all that kind of fun good jazz. So I want it to look good. I'm not totally into like ricing themes and stuff like that, but if you're gonna stare at your desktop all day, you want it to look good, right? And then let's create local share nvim backup, because if you've ever used NeoVim and you get that stupid message that says can't create a backup every time you try and save a file, it's infuriating. Okay, so now I have my collection. These are all the various folders that I want to make. And why do I want to make these folders? Because I have config files that I want to copy over for them. Or in this case, we're gonna try and use symlinks. All right, so let's tags. We set tags for everything. Okay, so we're gonna assign tags of dot files and then tags of, set a tag of folders. Okay, save that. All right, so now that we have that, we have our task. Let's actually test it. And I'm going to just test creating folders. Ansible, playbook, arch, build, and then tags, folders. And boom, we have our folders created. Okay, in Ansible, let's run that. So pay attention to the color here. I kind of have this orange color. Let's run that again. Notice that it's all green this time, whereas before it was orange. What's the difference? Orange means changed. Green means command ran fine, but nothing was changed. Why? Because the folder already existed. So Ansible is smart enough to kind of somewhat be state aware. In other words, it will do checks to make sure that you're not just going to overwrite a bunch of stuff. There are limitations to this, and you can almost always force an overwrite. However, Ansible is pretty smart that way. And the reason being is because it's not going to issue the make directory command if the directory already exists. Why? Number one, that's inefficient. All right, number two, that can cause problems and stuff like that. So you generally don't want to do that. So Ansible is smart enough to do that kind of check before actually kicking off the command. All right, so we got our folders created. Let's just double check here. ls.config. Okay, awesome. So inside of our config directory, we have all of the additional subdirectories that were created. Good stuff. Okay. So now that we have that, now let's actually try the Amazon Prime guys here, and that means my dogs are going to go insane. I have 2 dogs, golden retrievers, Gracie and Hobbs. It's great when it happens on conference calls. I always have to apologize. Man, did I have the absolute best status call today. Holy cow. I was on the phone. Lots of people on the phone. I was giving a status. Yeah, best alarm. I was giving a status update to my client. And we were having a good meeting, but there was a lot of people on this call. And I hear this. I hear doot, somebody like joined the call. And then this dude just busts in, and I swear this is exactly what happened. He busted in, interrupted everything with this. Alexa, add 3 minutes to oven timer. Oh shoot. Am I not on mute? Oh my god. Oh no. I put myself on mute and I died. Tears. I couldn't believe it. I felt so bad because we've all been there, right? Like we've all done stupid things on conference calls, and now that we have COVID to thank, real life just intrudes all the time. I got kids walking in on conference calls and everything like that, and it's fantastic. That's just real life. Every time I join a call, I hear like some kid coughing in the background and mommy, I want blah, 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 dogs barking. That's just real life. That's just real people. So it's great. Add 3 minutes to oven timer. That poor guy. All right, enough shenanigans. The best part was his reaction. He caught it immediately. He's like, I'm not on mute, am I? No, sir, you are not. Okay, so now we have that. Let's actually try creating a symlink. So this is old tale about the Cisco rep and the dress shirt and underwear. I think I have heard this. It wasn't Cisco, was it? I thought it was CNN. Some dude just having his own little personal happy hour while on a Zoom call or something like that, and accidentally flipped his video on. I've heard those kinds of fun stories. I'm not sure if I heard about the Cisco rep. Probably some like picking his nose or something. All right, well, could have been a troll breaking into the call, and then goes, Alexa, play 100 farts in a row. So, I have to admit, like in the background of my mind, in my evil red team mind, I'm thinking to myself, Alexa, buy 50 pounds of toothpaste. Like, I wonder what would happen if I just came out with that on the call, but I don't think I was on speakerphone. But oh man, Big Blue Swope is telling the story. 7 years ago, stood up, and here we go. I'm ready for the punchline, man. Give it to me. Furiously typing. All right. While you're sorting that out, stood up in his undies. Yeah. I don't know. Man, stood up and had no pants on. Did he? Well, he had his underwear on, right? So I mean, this could have been a whole lot worse. This. I mean, it could have been rated R. It's just like PG-13, right? At least I hope. All right. While you guys are filling me in on the Cisco rep, I'm gonna look at the file. So if we simply set this state to a link, okay, path to symlink. All right, so let's try that, because normally this playbook was really just things like copying files to the config directories. And the problem is that if I want to make a change, I would have to open up the file at that path, make the change, and then copy the file over to my Git repo, push it up to Git, do all that kind of stuff. In this case, I just want it to be symlinked to my dot file. So let's try that. Ansible, built-in file, source, destination, path to symlink, owner group, and then we set the state to link. Why don't we give that a shot? Okay. Oh yeah, we were coding. I'm just gonna do this. Let's just do this with the test. Name, and then link dot files. Excuse me. Okay. We're going to use the file keyword, and then yeah, that's right. Source is let's do item src. Destination is going to be item destination, and then we're going to set the owner to home user. Oops. Home user, and then let's set group to home user. Let's set the mode. These are just config files, so not super worried here. Alright, let's use with items. Oh, and state link. Okay. So I wonder if I'm going to run into something interesting with my indentation, because if you screw up your indentation, Ansible will complain at you. This is YAML, and so everything has to be indented properly. Think Python. And so in this case, Ansible prefers spaces, doesn't like tabs, so you can configure Vim to simply replace your tabs with spaces. But the way that Vim is indenting things for me is I'm not a fan. What's up with the line numbers? What a great question. So the line numbers in Vim, I have over to the left is the absolute line number. So right now I am on line 91. All right. So if I go up 2 lines and I hit 91, it drops me right down. Okay. What you're seeing above and below is called relative numbering, which means that if I want to drop down to where it says state link, I can do this. I can just hit the J key and go down 5, or I know that my line is 5 down, so I can hit 5J. Yeah. SQL is pronounced SQL. JSON is pronounced JSON. Engine X. YAML is pronounced the same as pain. I love it. I think the jury is out on GIF versus GIF. Honestly, I'm not settled one way or the other. And I don't really care. People can call it whatever they want. Image file. Okay. So, yeah, the jury is in an all-out brawl. And you know what's crazy? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. It's like, but it's kind of like, I mean, I would say it's like Vim versus Nano, but that actually does matter. GIF versus GIF is absolutely irrelevant to anything in life. Except to the purist. So if there are purists watching the stream right now, I'm sorry for you. All right, so with items, we're going to do a source of dot files. Let's start with my tmux.conf file. tmux.conf, and then destination is under.tmux.conf. Okay, save that. We're gonna give this a tag of dot files symlinks. Now, Notice that I gave 2 tags of dot files for this task up here and for this task down here. Both of them have the tag of dot files, which means if I run Ansible playbook with a tag of dot files, it's going to perform both tasks. The reason why I gave it two separate tasks, folders and symlinks, is because in this case I only want to test symlinking, right? So I don't want to try and recreate the folders because that's just wasted effort. So in this case, let's just run symlink, and before I do that, ls. Okay, so I do not have my tmux.conf file symlinked here. So let's just test this. Playbook, arch build, and then tags sim links. Fingers crossed. Okay, so conflicting action statements, file and tag. That is because, interesting. That is because I should have called it tags, not tag. All right. So according to this, something changed. And hey, look what I got here. I have my tmux.conf file symlinked to my dot file. So if I vim tmux.conf alias vim equals nvim, if I vim my .tmux.conf file, I am now in awesome. So I am messing with the tmux.conf file in my .files repo. This is what I wanted. This way, everything gets symlinked and all my .files stay contained. I love this. So let's do this in a few different ways. How many of these do I have to do? I have quite a few of these to do. Let's start with, let's do this. Source dot files, and then slash, and then test. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Okay. Let's copy this and then, oh, I don't know. We'll paste it like 10 times. Okay. And then I'm going to find that double quotation mark with F and then double quote. And then I'm going to next it with semicolon. And let's copy ZSH RC. And then, where am I? Find, there we go. And we're going to copy that, we're going to symlink to ZSHRC. And then we are going to copy, let's do nvim, my init.vim file. And then we are going to symlink that to config nvim init.vim. Yep. Unknown mark. What am I doing wrong here? That should be, here we go. What that was is, in Vim, let's say I start at the beginning of the line. In Vim, if I want to find something, that's just the F keyword, and this is in normal mode. If I'm in insert mode and I type F, I'm gonna get an F. Okay, but if I'm in normal mode, like this, and I type F, and then what I'm looking for, which is a double quotation mark, I go to it. To get to the next one in the line, I get to a semicolon. But let's say I want to go backwards. Generally speaking, let's say I want to search backwards from this point. Generally speaking, in Vim, you can repeat the action that you just did in reverse using the capital letter. So capital F and then quotation mark. F quotation, capital F quotation. Good stuff there. F quotation mark. Let's do, oops, I skipped a line. We'll come back to it. I3 config. And I'm going to copy that to config I3 config. let's see here. Oh my ZSH. Let's copy my ZSH Pi theme, which I like. ZSH theme. And then we're going to copy that to, in this case, the destination is going to be user share oh my ZSH themes Pi ZSH theme. Okay. We're getting there. Working through this. I3. I need my aliases. Oh my goodness, do I need my aliases? I need my bash aliases. Oops. And then we're going to copy that to bash aliases. Let's go to Alacrity. I'm probably not going to use Alacrity on this VM too much. What about question mark to search backwards? Question mark will search all the way up the file. So for example, let's say I want to find 0644. 0644, that searches all the way up the file. Did you catch that? 0644. It's basically just like hitting up instead of down if you're searching in like Notepad++. So we got Alacrity, and then that goes to config Alacrity, and then we're going to copy that to alacrity.yml. Sorry, not copy. Symlink. We're going to symlink this. Polybar config. Polybar is this thing down here and this thing up here. Icons, date, time, CPU usage, RAM, all that kind of stuff. That's Polybar. Oops. And we're going to copy that to Polybar. Nope. .config. Polybar config. We'll link it there. What else do I have? I have Dunst and Rofi left, and then I think we're done. Dunst RC. That goes into config. .config. Dunst. We'll link it there. Search backwards. Rofi. I like my Rofi Dracula theme. Get rid of those 3 lines. Save it. Clean profile. Now I think there's going to be a problem with one of these, but we'll find out. I suspect that I probably don't have permissions to write here. So let's take a quick look. User share. Do I not have on my ZSH installed? I might not. That's interesting. Let's install OhmyZSH. That goes into the Arch user repository. If we have a look, I think of the payoff and press on. That's 100% true. And it's just typing, right? It's just work. Sometimes you just have to slog through it, okay? But if we look at the Arch user repository, and OhmyZSH, pretty sure, yep, that should already be packaged up there. OhmyZSH packaged up in Git, and that is exactly what we need. So this is another huge reason why I use Arch. Everything is in the Arch user repository or in the Arch package manager system. So let's do OhmyZSH Is it Git? Yep. All right. Where was Rofi? Let's install Rofi. Rofi is at Arch Package Manager. Ah, shoot. Raza, that's what I'm start calling you. You're my guy. You're taking care of me, man. I appreciate it. Got to keep me honest. I feel like every single stream, you are the dependable one to make sure that I stay on target, that I stay on the right scene in OBS. Okay, so I added Rofi. Oh, so I did install ZSH, but I not install Oh My ZSH, and that is a little different. So I do prefer Oh My ZSH to just regular ZSH just because of the plugins, and I do make use of some plugins. But in this case, we did make some updates to Pacman, and we made some updates to the AUR section of our code, which is down here. Okay, so we're gonna have to run the AUR tag, and we're gonna have to run the, you know what? If I do, let's add the packages tag to AUR as well. So 11 down packages. This way I can just run the packages tag and it will install all the packages. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want. Since we're installing stuff, I should have, let's go up a little bit. Okay. Tmux, Vim, NeoVim. I installed NeoVim automatically. However, I do want to make sure NeoVim is always there. Let's install things like TCP dump. Trying to think if there's other things that I really want. FD for grabbing files. Other things that need to be there. Again, this is just a VM. Let's open SSL. I already got TCP dump. I do. Thank you. I3 gaps. Do we want? Yeah. Let's go ahead. I3 gaps. I3 gaps is what I'm using. Oh dear. I just got a message from my wife that Hobbs messed with the Amazon delivery guy. This is going to be interesting. We definitely need a browser. Actually, I have Brave installed. Python. Oh, hey, let's install Exa. And yeah, I think we'll call that. We'll call that good. Actually, no, a couple more. Cron and ManDB. Understand that with Arch, literally you get very little. For example, cron. Like you would think that would just come standard. Doesn't. Now there's pros and cons to this, right? The pro is that you really get to know your system. You really do. You get to know all the packages that are on there. And so when you run an update, you know all the packages that are getting updated. You get to see the dependencies that come down. And you get to take a very active hand in the build out of your Linux distribution. But this is not for everyone. And I'm not like an Arch fanatic. Okay, I use it, I like it. However, some people use other distros, use Ubuntu, use Mint, use Windows, use Mac. It doesn't matter to me. But in this case, one of the benefits, I call it a benefit of Arch, is that you actually have to build. You have to know what the packages are and how to use them. And I like that. Okay. I don't like that. Oh no. Oh no. Oh gosh. Oh man. Did I seriously just lose all that due to a swap issue? drink. Oh, man. Well, like someone once told me, it's not how you fail, it's how you recover. I don't know why. You know what? Just for grins. Yeah, she's gone. She is gone. That's what I get. That's what I get for ignoring a dupe swap file. Ah, Jason, you should know better. You should know better. Well, I'm not sure if I'm gonna make you guys sit through all that again. Man, I didn't get to do the test for that. Let's do this. I'm gonna jump over to my. I wonder how easily I can. Yeah, that's not gonna be easy to copy in. Nope. All right. And there's another prompt from my wife. I do apologize. I'm cutting the stream short tonight. Not exactly where I want it to end, but what I will do is for the next stream, I will have this build back out and we will resume where we should have been leaving off. That's why Jesus always wins. See, I saved, but there was a swap file, and yeah. Anyways, I would love to say that I've learned my lesson, but chances are I'll probably make this mistake some other time. So hopefully it's not on a stream. Anyways, I will be back next week. We'll sort this out because hopefully my Amazon guy is okay. I should probably go check on him. But not exactly where I plan on ending the stream tonight. I do appreciate you all for tuning in, but I do need to cut it short. We will resume this next week with a proper non-swapped or non-duplicate swap file. I will make sure that everything is squared away when we put this back up. So next week I will be streaming. The week after that I will be gone, and then I will resume the following week. So again, my apologies. Hopefully he's not laying face down in the driveway. Ask me. I don't know if I told you guys a story about the UPS guy who flipped his truck at the end of my driveway. That was fun too. Again, my apologies, but hey, this is real life. So this is what happens when we stream live. I will get the file back up and running, and then maybe I'll do a special stream before I go. Taking the church youth group kids out on a trip show, so that should be fun. You all have truck flipping Amazon. Yeah. He the UPS guy. It was an icy day, and he slid off. I live on just just cornfield. I shouldn't say cornfield, soybeans, all kinds of stuff. I'm way out in the country, and he just slid off into a ditch. There's a creek that is right in the area on the road where I live. He slid right off. Truck went, and he was standing down there in the snow. And my kids come running up to me, and they're like, "Dad, UPS guy, he's just standing out there." And I went down there and I chatted with him, and his name's Francis, really nice guy, and told me the scoop about Amazon delivery drivers versus FedEx delivery drivers, and yeah, just poor guy. He stood down there for 3 hours. I brought him some soup. I felt so bad. He's like out there snowing. I was like, "Where do you live?" He's like 20 minutes away. I'm like, "Just want to ride? Let's just take you home. I mean, if you got a family waiting for you." So, but apparently his boss came by and picked him up. I felt pretty horrible about it, but icy road, sometimes it happens. So in this case, I went sliding right off into the ditch of Vim swap files. So, anyways, yeah. T3, thanks for saying so. It'll be fun. We're gonna go visit another part of the country and hopefully do some good for the community. So should be a good time. But anyways, thanks all for tuning in. Again, I'll be back. Might do a special stream just to resume because I hate leaving it like this, but that's life. So you guys all have a great night. Thanks again. Take care. We'll see you next time. I can't even stop the stream.